Hey everyone, Scott here, and today we're going to talk about how you can plan your children's ministry events through Planning Center. So what we're going to talk about today is first helping you get organized with your team through tasks. We're going to talk about creating an event through registrations, picking the event through calendar, and lastly, promoting the event once it's ready to be promoted. And of course, there's going to be a few tips and tricks like towards the end about some like advanced things that you could do for your events. So let's get started. And the place that we get started is actually in home. And I want to point out tasks and why tasks matters. First of all, what tasks is just a collection of tasks that you need to get done. So for example, here's a list of things that I need to do. But you might be asking, why would I use Planning Center tasks instead of any of the other task systems that I have outside of Planning Center? I think there's two reasons. One is because it keeps the work that you're doing into one system. But two, most importantly, is that you have collaborators with tasks and you can assign certain tasks to other people. So as your team puts on an event, you can do all the things together to make sure you're all on the same page. So other things to point out very quickly with tasks is that you can have recurring tasks. So I have a list here of Sunday prep of all the things that I need to do every Sunday, but it's not just me. Anybody from our team in these collaborators up here can do these things as well. But what I want to show you is because we're creating an event, I want to show you that you can create a template and use the template to create a task list. So the event I want to create is what I'm going to call a summer celebration. It's just like a one-day event where anybody like in the community is welcome to come over. We're going to have some food. We're going to also have some childcare as well. So I'm going to create that event today. So I'm going to use this task template here, new event details. And let's see, I'm just going to call it something new. So let's just call it, Summer Celebration 25 and hit save. And you can see that it pulled all of the tasks that I have for basically every one of the events that's going on. You can see also like there are some things that I automatically already have assigned to one of the people. So for example, I always want Brian to handle the ordering the food of the events that I have too. Some things aren't assigned and they're just like up here with the collaborators who can help get things done. The greatest thing about tasks, though, is that they all exist on the sidebar over here. So what I mean by that is when you're in any other product in Planning Center, you always have this sidebar here, and you can pull up your tasks, the things that are specific to you, or you can even jump down to like the thing I just created and see how that specific event is going on. I can click on any one of these and add some more details if I want, and all the things that you might expect from a task list. The other neat thing that I want to point out about tasks is here, I'm going to jump over here to my task just so you can see how this happens, is if you got any notification from any one of the products, you can see, for example, I have Blackwell Life Group has too many members. That's the small group that I lead as well. Too many members, that means I need to do something, but not now. I want to do that later. So I want to make that a task. And I either want to, create a new group for these people or consider making the capacity a little bit more. So I can click on the dots here, go to create a task, and it then creates it here. It looks like I already did that earlier, but you can see that it created another one for me. So and what's neat about that is it has a link based on that thing. So if I click on the link, it'll pop me over straight to that event, that Blackwell Life Group event, for me to handle what that needs to do. So that's really cool. Okay, so that is tasks. That's how you get prepared. You start working with your team about creating an event. Let's now go into calendar and start to choose the right day and communicate all the things around that. So I'm jumped to calendar, and there is a lot going on here. So let me show you how to help you make better decisions. Of course, there are like tags that you can filter these down to. Like I could consider filtering it down just to like the kids or the elementary or something like that. But you know what? Because it's like a community event, I kind of do want to know everything that's going on. But what I really want to know is what's happening at that specific campus. So I'm going to add a room because I might use a room. And I could search for gym, but more importantly is I can search for a folder, if I spell it correctly, any rooms that are in the San Diego campus. There, it's filtered down to any of the San Diego campus rooms. Now, let's say I want to create things in like June or so. Let me just see what's going on. It looks like we have a men's breakfast. We have weekend services like usual at 6 p.m. There's something going on here. So I'm going to just say that maybe this 21st is the best day to do this. It looks like they cleaned and did some maintenance the day before, so that's a perfect time to make more of a mess. So let's go. I can click new here, or I can double click and start creating my event, summer celebration. And we'll say that it is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It doesn't repeat. And there's a lot of other things that I can add to this, and I have some required tags. However, because I have a children's ministry event, I'm going to like automatically choose this event template, and it's going to choose specific rooms. It's going to add a location. It's going to add my church center visibility and the tags that happen with this event. I can add some more, but that is a very fast way to do things. I'm going to click more options, and it jumps to this page in an edit state. And it's in an edit state because this is where you can add setup times, because you might want to book rooms and resources not just during the event of 10, but like between 9 and like 3 p.m. So this is where you could do that. Also, if I had questions, like if I was going to book like the sanctuary and I needed to ask if I need like the projector or anything like that, it would pop up here on the right side in the rooms and resources section for me to answer those questions. I can add rooms if I need to, but let's just say I've got 3 rooms. That's for my childcare. I have a front lawn. All of these things were stored in that one template, by the way. So let's go ahead and book it. And it does always, every time you save something, it shows you what it was before and what it is now, and shows you all the green things are the new things. But it is a new event, so everything's new, and it doesn't have the before. So we'll go ahead and create that event. And there we go. Now, I want to jump over to something else that's really useful, especially for children's ministry, and that's these connections. This is kind of cool. So with connections, you're connecting this one event that lives in calendar with any of the other events that exist in Planning Center. So you can connect a sign up, for example. If this is the first time you're creating it, you can actually create a sign up straight from here. But I've already created one of these things just for the sake of this, talk that I'm doing here. So I'm just going to connect that summer celebration sign up, and we're going to add a connection just because I want to show you what it does. What it does is it shows you all the attendees. It shows you the 3 types of selection types I have, how many people are regular, how many are volunteers, how many need childcare, and has the total attendees. And I could keep this going too. Like if I want to connect a check-ins event, I can search for that as well. Summer celebration, all assignments, we'll add that connection. And as I build these out, like if I was using services to also schedule my volunteers in services, I can connect that. For this one-time event, I probably don't need that. But when you're creating events that might be recurring, you might want all of this information. You can even connect that task list that I had for summer celebration as well. So I have everything that I need all in one spot, which is pretty cool. Looks like we've done none of the things that I just created too. So this is like the best way to kind of look at an overarching view of what's going on in your event with Planning Center once you connect all those kind of things. So that's pretty rad. Now, let's go ahead and jump over to registrations, and I want to show you some of those things. I'm just going to, because I want to be quick about it, click on Summer Celebration, and it's going to pop right over to that event. which is kind of nice. All right, so I'm going to jump over. This is something that we already created just for the sake of this, conversation that we're having. Because I want to show you how it's set up. So if I'm going to jump over to configuration, and I'm going to start at selection types. Basically, from here down to about the confirmation message or forms, if you have it, this is the order in which people sign up. These are the questions that they ask in the order that they're asking. So the first thing they get asked is what selection type do you want? So you can see, let me just walk you through. For this event, I have a regular event that costs no money. And there is no capacity limit in there. Anybody can sign up. I just want to know how many people are there so that I can know how much food that we need to prepare. We do have childcare, which does cost some money if you want it to, right? Where you can charge money and do that. And then we also have volunteers. We just need a different selection type to figure out how to orchestrate all of the volunteers. Let me go into the childcare, and I want to point out a couple neat things. First of all, you can have filters on every one of the selection types. So genders, maybe it's ages, maybe it's grades. For this specific example, we're going to say anybody 5 years and younger. That's what's happening here. But what I really want to point out here is the information you want to collect versus the information you required. So this is the information that you want to collect. And what I want to say as like the best practice is sometimes the tendency is to say, I want to collect all the information I possibly can. But I want to encourage you not to do that. The reason is because when you're doing a registration, people need to register as fast as possible. So the less questions that you ask them, the faster it's going to be. So if you ask the most minimum amount of questions that you need for this specific event and not just for your whole database, then it's going to be a lot faster for them. So I want to, for example, for childcare, we split up our groups into different genders, and I want to collect the gender, but I'm not going to require it. We can figure it out when we're there, and that's totally fine. Birth date, I can't change this. The reason being is because I've set up a filter. Any filter that you've set up, we're automatically going to require that information, so they have to fill it out. So if you set up a grade filter, that would switch to grade over here. And then emergency contact. So with these children, because they're going to be separated from their families, I want to make sure I know who to contact, and I'm going to require that. And lastly, I want to make sure that I know if they have any allergy or medical notes or anything like that, because they might print out some labels that has that information on there. But that can never be required. The only reason that is true is because some people might not have any medical notes, and you don't want to encourage them to write something like not applicable, because then it would literally say that on the tag themselves. So you can't require that. All right. So, and let me just I'm just looking at my notes here. Now, I think that's it for selection types. I'm going to go on to add-on options. This is kind of basic, but it's like I have an add-on that I want to allow them to select a t-shirt. They can choose a size of the t-shirt, which we call a variation. And if you want to put a cost on something, they can do it there too. Volunteer shirts are free though, however. And then we have attendee questions. And I want to point out the difference between attendee questions and registration questions. Attendee questions are ones that you ask per attendee, which means if you have 3 people signing up in your household, you're going to ask these 3 questions 3 times. So each person is going to get those 3 questions. And if you jump to registration questions and you have 3 people, it's going to ask this one question only once. That is the difference between attendee questions and registration questions. Of course, there is also discounts if you want. So for example, if you want like an early bird discount or like multi-child discount, you can do any of that kind of stuff right there. There's also scholarships. If you want to track that kind of information, you're welcome to do that. And then you can change the confirmation message at the end there as well. All right. That is the basics of creating an event for children's ministry. But I want to point out a couple other advanced things. I'm going to jump up to settings here and just tell you the difference between church center availability and registration status. So church center availability is basically like, when do you want this thing to be visible on church center? So you can say now, you can say on a specific date or time I want to do this, or you can say direct link only, which that's like if you have a seeking event that you only want to invite some people to and it's not searchable on church center, you would do direct link only. That's the default state though. So if you want it to be public, make sure you change this. Registration status, however, is when do you want to allow them to sign up? So this one is when is it visible, and registration status is when do you want them to sign up. And the idea there is like you might want to market that this event is happening 6 months beforehand, just to let them know that it's coming. But they can't yet sign up until a specific date. So this like creates anticipation, and then when the sign up happens, they can actually sign up. All right, we've created an event, and just to show you kind of what that looks like, I'm going to click View on Church Center up at the top right, and you can see once I got information. If I put details, which I didn't, I should have, but details would be here. That's why that looks pretty blank right now. But that would show all the details of your event. But when I hit View Registration, you can see when it loads that it'll ask, oh, it looks like I already created one. So it just pulls up something that I had. So, but basically it would ask all the things that we wanted it to ask in order to sign up. So let me close these out and go back to registrations here. I think it's registrations. Yes, because I wanted to show one more thing about that summer celebration here. And that is reminders. So I'm going to go to configuration and tell you about reminders. If you remember, we have those 3 selection types, regular, childcare, and volunteers. You can create a reminder that they signed up for that event in whatever time frame that you want, 1 week before or 2 days before per thing, and you can have a different statement for that. So you would go to reminders, set up the reminders, and they can change all of that kind of information, which is pretty cool. So now, speaking of reminders, let's start promoting. Let's start telling people about the event itself. And that is all done in Planning Center People. So I want to show you I want to talk about lists specifically. Lists are incredibly powerful, and you can do a whole lot of really neat things in lists. Honestly, for children's ministry, you can run almost half of your automations and all that kind of stuff with lists and workflows and forms. So I definitely encourage you to get to know Planning Center People for children's ministry. So let me show you a couple examples specifically around creating an event in Planning Center. So I have I've created these lists, Summer Celebration 25 list. But let me show you, I have this list of marketing of people who are active and not registered yet. Let me show you what the rules are for this event. And this looks like it's a lot of information. That's because it is. And it might seem complex, but it's not that hard. Let me kind of walk you through what we got doing. The idea here is that we want to collect a list of people that we want to advertise this event to. So here's how we're doing it. I want to collect a list of everybody whose age is between 5 and 12 years old. And they've checked in any event, any location, anytime since 12 months ago. So it's a year ago. So basically this is pulling a list of everybody who's between 5 and 12 and who have been active in the last year. But I want to exclude people who have registered for the event that we're asking them to sign up for. Because I don't want to say hey, you just signed up for the event. Do you want to sign up for this event? Right? So I want to exclude those people. So I want to pull a list of those people. Or, that's this big guy over here, I want to collect a list of people who registered for this event last year. So it's pulling a list of anybody who's been active in the last year, who's 5 or 12, or came last year. And then this also has that same exclude of who's actually signed up for this summer celebration. That will pull a list of all the kids that are in that age bracket who fit those rules. We don't want a list of kids if we're marketing. We want a list of their adults. So at the very bottom, my list should include Usually it's exact matches, but I want to choose the primary context of the matches, or even all of the household adults of the matches. So I can submit that, and it's going to it's going to fire that off. It's doing all the math, and it finds all your list of 27 household adults of the matches of that ruling. And here's where you can do a whole bunch of things with them. You can email them. Here, let me just show you here. We can email them. You can send a Church Center announcement. So if you're using Church Center, the app itself, you can send a push notification through that. You can send text messages to these people. Or if you've connected with Clearstream or Text in Church, both which are texting platforms, it'll pull up straight from Planning Center for you to use them as well. So you can mark it that way. Or, if you want, you can print a list of these people, and you could even print, like name tags. So with the stickers, if you're sending out postcards or something like that. Now, that was quite complicated, maybe. If you were intimidated by that, what I want to encourage you is that these rules, all these things, don't get too intimidated. Please reach out to support. Please hit that question mark at the top right corner of Planning Center. This is where you can contact our support, and you don't have to know everything about lists. You don't just have to contact them because something went wrong or you don't understand them. You just contact them to let them know, hey, I want to send out this thing. Can you help me set it up? Most of the people that work at our support have worked in churches. We know what's going on, and all we really want to do is help make these things go a lot smoother if we can. Okay, so that is the basics of creating an event. That is where I organize myself with tasks. I've found the best date. I've made all the connections with the events. I've set up my registration. I've started marketing that registration as well. Now I want to talk about some more advanced features that we have that you might want to know about. So it's not it maybe doesn't work for this specific example of a one-day event that only happens one time, but I want to show you just so you know how you could do events in Planning Center as a whole. I'm going to jump back over into registrations. One of the more complex events I think happens in children's ministry is probably Vacation Bible School. If you do a Vacation Bible School, there's a lot of complexities around there. One of those is that, at least in my VBS, we have this thing. I'm going to jump over to assignments, and I'm going to go to classes. So we have these groups of people, usually about 5 kids to each, grouping where, our junior high and our high schoolers lead this team of people. So they're not location based. It's just I have an orange group, I have a blue group, green group, whatever. They could be elephants. They could, be whatever you might have. But I need to assign certain children to those things. You can use registrations to do that. And how I would usually do that is I would come over to this area and I would choose the best location for those people. But I don't want to do that manually for everybody. What I really want to do is do that for only the people that have a request, right? Some of the people need to be with their best friend at this age or something. So this is where you can come in and assign as many different people to whatever location or whatever grouping or class that they need to be in. Once you've done those specific people, then you can go to auto assign. And you've got 2 options. You've got waterfall and you got balanced. So let's say you have 2 locations here. Both of them are, say, for the first grade. Waterfall is where it would fill up all that first location first, and then once that's full, it'll move to the next one and fill up that one. Balanced, however, is where it goes from, it adds 1 person here, 1 person here, and then 2 people here, then 2 people here. So this is where you get to choose. So for me, I'm just going to choose waterfall, and you can see that it'll auto assign everybody that allows any kind of certain assignment. So that is the best way to kind of get your crew organized. What's cool about this is that then if you can set up a check-ins event that links to these assignments. So basically what that does is whatever you assigned here will be a location in check-ins. So when they come to check in, it's already going to put them into the right room based on that assignment. It'll already have, that assignment on the name tag too, which is kind of cool. So that's an advanced tip, was connecting registrations and check-ins. Another advanced tip is a feature we call wait lists. So in VBS, let's pretend here I have a selection type and I have a capacity limit of 30 people for child. So I can then choose to turn on a wait list. Now, this won't let me turn it off because I already have people in the wait list, so I can't turn off a wait list when there's people already in. But for you, it would look like this, and you can just turn on the wait list like that. How that works is, well, there's two different ways that you can resolve a wait list thing. One of them is you can come over here, and if there's 50 people in a wait list, you can say, you know what, we need another room, and we got another room, and you can just change the capacities. That's one way to resolve wait lists. The other way, actually, let me show you that way. I'm going to stick on that. So in registrations over here, if you go to wait lists, if you just opened up a bunch of different capacities, what you can do is this would show up, notify wait lists of available capacities. And that's just like sending out an email to everybody who is on the wait list to say, hey, there's more, first come, first serve, go. That's what that does. But let's say another way that something happens is someone cancels or something like that and opens up a spot. Thing to notice and to know about waitlists is once a waitlist starts, nobody can register for that event. They're only going to be registering for the waitlist. You have to manually resolve the waitlist at that time. Why I'm saying that is, let's say without your knowledge, 5 people canceled. That does not mean that people can just register for those 5 things and these people are still on the waitlist. Anybody still registering in that time, they're just going to be added to the waitlist too, in order of when they were added. So now back to this is if I can click on, if you're doing it just one at a time because there's a cancellation, I can click on a person right here and I can hit promote. Well, I would select their name and then hit promote. It's going to tell me that there's an alert that they can do that, that it's still over capacity. If there was a spot, that alert wouldn't be there. So I can promote them right there. If this registration had 4 people in it, that's why I would select, the 4 people and then hit promote. But yeah, that's how you promote them. Other thing to note here is that as an admin, you can promote people to the registration even over the capacity limit. That's why it's letting me do this, but it's just warning me about that. So be careful with that power. Okay, so that's wait lists. Next, I want to talk about a little advanced feature that we do at my church for volunteers. So let's pretend that someone signs up for an event as a volunteer. I want to make sure that volunteer goes through all the things that they need to go through. So that means we have a whole volunteer workflow where we need to get a background check and, look into some things and talk to them and that kind of stuff. So what you could do is you can set up an automation to make that process super smooth. So this is an advanced tip, is these automations. So let me show you. When a new person is registered for an event for the volunteer selection type, with the status of active, this is basically only shows up if waitlist is another option. So you don't want to add people if they're on a waitlist for it. Then what I want to do is perform an action in people. I can do any app here, but let's say I want to add them to a workflow, and I've already created a workflow of, let's see, what did I call it? Oh yeah, kids event volunteer onboarding. I'm going to create this automation. Now, anytime somebody says they want to be a volunteer, it'll automatically put them in that workflow in people. What is that workflow in people? Let me show you. Let's jump over to people. Let's go to workflows. And let's go to this kids event volunteer onboarding. So workflows is basically a process queue. This is basically, I have 4 things that I want to do when somebody is requesting to be a volunteer. First, I want to send them a thank you email. And that email really kind of explains all the process, explains the process about the background check, and explains what they're kind of getting into and all that kind of stuff. It might also have a link to a form asking if they have a preference of certain age groups or something like that. You can do whatever you want there. And then the second step is send a background check request. So it'll send them an email that asks them to fill out a background check. And then we, after that, sometimes that takes a couple days. So after a couple days, you can check the background status, and then I can assign them to a team, or I can put them, on the certain list, or, whatever you might want to do after they've gone through everything. So I've got a couple people here. Oh, and by the way, with process queues, with workflows here, you can assign each one of these steps to a different person. So I'm handling the first step, but looks like I'm also handling the second step. There we go. Amy is handling that third step, check background status. But let me go in here. I'm going to view this card, and I want to show you just what you can do with this. You can add an internal note, meaning like if this person's interested, I can say, they're interested in this, grade or whatever, it is. I can also send an email for them. Or I can perform an action. Now, some people ask the question, like, I want to send an email of a template that I already have, which includes like the form and all that kind of stuff. You can do that too by performing an action and send an email from a template as well. That's one cool tip. The other one is that directly from here, I can set, not background check, order background check is what I mean, where I can choose the package level I want. Now, don't pay too much attention to the prices here. This is a test org, and all of those things vary by state and sometimes county. So ignore that question. That might be different for you. But we've connected to Checker to have those values right there. Anyway, you can do all of that right through your action. And once you've done it, I can hit complete step, and it moves to the second thing. So that is workflows. And you can kind of handle all the things that you want right there. Okay, now I want to talk about a couple other things for advanced features. It's just, honestly, it's two more things. One is about how to communicate to prepare your volunteers before the event starts. And there's two ways to do that. One of them is in registrations, just so you know, if you go into your summer celebration, and then you can add a filter over here. Here, let's let that load. Sometimes I want it to be faster than it is, Okay, so I can say I want to filter by the selection type of volunteers. I add that filter, and this is where I can perform actions. I can send a general email or, kind of whatever you want to do. So this is how you can contact your people. You can also, in people, create a list of all of your volunteers for the summer celebration as well. But what I really want to do with this volunteers one, so let's say that I have some volunteers, or no, let me completely scratch that. What I really want to do is I have people who are volunteers who didn't sign up to be volunteers, but they're just helping with the food prep. They don't need to know anything about Planning Center. I don't need their information. They're just going to kind of show up and like help us organize the food. I want to get them information about the like medical notes and stuff of those people. So what I can do is I can have a list of all the people who are attendees, and I can so these are all the kids that are showing up to that event. What I want to point out is that you can add columns here. So I can add a column of medical notes, and then those medical notes show up. And then when I print anything that I've shown a column to, it will print that column also. So for that volunteer team who is preparing your food, you can come in here, print this out, and they can see who all the special people are that have a medical note that they need to do something with. So yeah, those are the advanced tips for creating an event. So we've done all the things, I think most of the things that you can do with Planning Center around your event. We've helped you stay organized. We've chosen the right date. We've created a registration. We maybe linked that registration to check-ins. And we've also promoted and announced it and prepared our volunteers for it. So those are all the things that we talked about. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about, or if you just want to learn more about something, please don't hesitate to hit that question mark at the top right of every one of our products. This is where you can look at suggested articles, you can watch some more videos of this, and of course you can contact our support right there. Thanks for watching, guys.